Press the butter in your fridge. If it spreads straight from cold, it's been engineered with liquid fat. Real butter stays solid because that's how milk fat behaves. Independent testing repeatedly finds products labeled spreadable in Australian supermarkets often contain more vegetable oil than dairy fat, yet they sit in the butter aisle with pastoral imagery on front. The average household consumes 3.2 kilograms of butter or butter-like spreads yearly. If half is canola oil blend, you're eating over a kilogram of industrially extracted seed oil annually without choosing it. We investigated 10 brands across every major supermarket chain. 7 rely on blending and opacity. 3 offer full traceability and traditional churning. Here's the ranked list and the 3-second shelf test that tells you which is which. If this changed how you see the butter aisle, subscribe. We investigate a new category every week. Same forensic approach, same Australian market focus. Number 7. Coles brand spreadable. About $4.50 at Coles, the cheapest option in the butter aisle. The tub is white, clean, simple. Pastoral imagery on the front, a pat of golden spread on toast. The label says spreadable. It does not say butter because legally it cannot. Read the ingredient list: butter, canola oil, water, salt. Emulsifiers? Canola oil is the second ingredient. That means by weight, there is more canola oil in this tub than anything except butter itself. This is not butter that has been made easier to spread. This is butter that has been diluted with seed oil to reduce cost and engineer a texture that performs at fridge temperature. Canola oil is industrially extracted from rapeseed using hexane solvent, then refined, bleached, and deodorized to remove the bitter taste and dark color of the raw oil. The refining process generates trans fats and oxidized lipids. Canola oil is high in omega-6 fatty acids, which in excess promote inflammation when the omega-6 to omega-3 ratio in the diet is out of balance. Butter contains omega-3 fatty acids, conjugated linoleic acid, and fat-soluble vitamins A, D, and K2. Canola oil contains none of those. When you blend the two, you're not improving butter, you are replacing it. The emulsifiers listed, typically soy lecithin or mono and diglycerides, are there to stop the water, oil, and butter from separating back into layers. They allow the manufacturer to incorporate water, which has zero cost, into a product you're paying dairy prices for. Water is the third ingredient. You are buying water at $4.50 per 500-gram tub. Leave the tub on the counter for an hour. Real butter softens into a spreadable cream. Coles brand. Spreadable begins to separate, an oil slick forming on the surface, a denser layer beneath. That is not how butter behaves. That is how an emulsion fails when the temperature rises past the engineered stability range. The front label shows a cow in a green field. The back label reveals that the dairy component is butter, not cream, meaning it was churned elsewhere, then blended with oil and water in a secondary process. You are not buying something made in a dairy. You are buying something assembled in a factory from purchased ingredients, one of which happens to be butter. Coles sources the butter component from multiple suppliers across Australia. The oil is commodity canola, origin not disclosed. The emulsifiers are imported. This is not a product with a paddock, it is a product with a supply chain. The texture is soft, smooth, even. It spreads without tearing the bread. That evenness is engineered, not natural. Real butter's texture changes with the season. It is firmer in winter when cows eat more hay, softer and yellower in spring when they graze fresh pasture. Coles brand spreadable has no seasonality because it has no single origin. It is consistent because it is formulated. Consumer advocacy group Choice has noted in testing that spreadable blends like this one are often marketed in ways that imply dairy purity when the ingredient list tells a different story. The word spreadable is not regulated in the way butter is. Butter must contain at least 80% milk fat and no other fats under Food Standards Australia, New Zealand Code Standard 2.5.3. Spreadable blends are not butter. They are classified as dairy blends or table spreads, and they are required to list all fats in descending order. Coles does. Most shoppers do not read past the front label. Number 6. Devondale Spreadable. $5.20 at Woolworths, Coles, and IGA. Trusted name, green and white tub. The Devondale brand is owned by Saputo, a Canadian multinational that acquired the Murray Goulburn Cooperative in 2017. Devondale still trades on the equity of the cooperative era, farmer-owned Australian dairy community connection. That equity is now intellectual property owned offshore. The ingredient list: butter, rapeseed oil, water, salt, emulsifiers, natural flavor. Rapeseed oil is canola oil. It is the second ingredient. This product is structurally identical to Coles brand Spreadable. The difference is the brand name and the extra 70 cents you pay for it. Devondale sources butter from its own processing plants in Victoria and Tasmania, which in turn source milk from hundreds of dairy farms across southeastern Australia. The rapeseed oil is imported, primarily from Canada and Europe, where rapeseed is grown as an industrial oilseed crop. The oil you are spreading on your toast traveled further than the butter. The front label shows rolling green pastures and dairy cows. The back label tells you this is a blend. Both are true. The label is not lying. It is performing. The pastoral image is there to anchor your association with dairy farming. The ingredient list is there because the law requires it. Most consumers see the first, not the second. Press the tub with your finger. It yields immediately, even straight from the fridge. Real butter resists. It is a solid fat at 4 degrees Celsius. This compresses like whipped cream because it has been aerated and emulsified with water and liquid oil. The texture is not natural. It is engineered for convenience. Devondale Spreadable costs $10.40 per kilogram. Devondale Block Butter, 100% butter, no oil, no water, costs 11 $11 per kilogram. You are paying nearly the same price for a product that is only partially butter. The cost saving from replacing butter with canola oil and water is not passed on to you. It is captured as margin. Number 5. Lurpak Spreadable Slightly Salted. $6 at Woolworths, Coles, and Aldi. Premium Danish brand. Iconic silver foil wrapper. Viking ship logo. Heritage dating to 1901. The packaging signals craft, tradition, European dairy standards. The ingredient list signals cost engineering. Butter 53%, rapeseed oil 24%, water, salt, lactic culture. This product is less than 60% butter. Under Australian and European food standards, it cannot legally be called butter because it does not meet the minimum 80% milk fat threshold. That is why the label says spreadable, not butter. The name is not marketing, it is compliance. Denmark has some of the strictest dairy regulations in Europe. Danish butter, actual butter, is a protected product with clear standards for milk fat content, bacterial counts, and traceability. Lurpak Spreadable is not made to Danish butter standards. It is made to global spreadable blend standards, engineered for export markets, where consumers want the Lurpak brand, but also want a product that spreads at fridge temperature. The rapeseed oil is there to solve a problem butter does not have in Denmark. In Denmark, butter is left on the counter in a butter dish and softens naturally within 15 minutes. In export markets, Australia included, butter is stored in the fridge, and many consumers expect it to spread immediately. Lurpak Spreadable is designed for that expectation. It is engineered for convenience, not for dairy purity. The mathematics are clear. A 500-gram tub of Lurpak Spreadable contains 265 grams of butter, 120 grams of rapeseed oil, and the remainder is water, salt, and culture. You are paying $6 for 265 grams of butter and 120 grams of industrially refined seed oil. Lurpak Block Butter, 100% butter, costs $6.50 for 250 grams at the same retailers. Per gram of actual butter, the spreadable version is more expensive, and you are also buying oil and water. Rapeseed oil oxidizes when exposed to heat and light. Independent testing by European consumer groups has found that spreadable blends stored in clear or translucent packaging can develop off flavors and elevated levels of lipid peroxides within weeks of opening, particularly if stored on a fridge door where temperature fluctuates. Lurpak Spreadable is sold in a foil-lined tub, which offers some protection, but once opened, the clock starts. Butter does not oxidize in the same way. Butter is a saturated fat, chemically stable, resistant to rancidity for months under refrigeration. The label says slightly salted. The sodium content is 580 milligrams per 100 grams. Lurpak Block Butter contains 620 milligrams per 100 grams. The spreadable version is lower in sodium not because Lurpak reduced the salt, but because 23% of the product is water, which contains no sodium. The salt is diluted. The front label shows a dairy churn and the phrase, "since 1901." That history is legitimate. Lurpak was created by Danish dairy cooperatives and became one of the world's first branded butters. In 2017, Lurpak's parent company, Arla Foods, still a cooperative, still owned by 9,000 farmers across Denmark, Sweden, and other Northern European nations, launched the spreadable line to compete with cheaper blended products that were taking market share in the UK and Australia. The brand is real. The product is a departure. Number 4. Woolworths Essentials Salted Butter. $4.80 at Woolworths. This is block butter, 100% butter. Ingredients: cream, salt. Nothing wrong on paper. Everything wrong in the supply chain. No farm name, no region, no mention of feed system. The label says, made in Australia from at least 96% Australian ingredients. That 96% is the cream. The remaining 4% is salt, which is often imported. The claim tells you the cream is Australian. It does not tell you which dairies, which cows, or which paddocks. Woolworths sources cream for its essentials range from multiple processors in New South Wales, Victoria, and Queensland. Those processors, in turn, source milk from hundreds of farms. The milk is pooled, pasteurized, separated into cream and skim, and sold as commodity cream to manufacturers who churn it into butter. No batch is traceable to a single farm. No block in your fridge can be traced to a single herd or a single season. The price reveals the sourcing. $4.80 for 500 grams is $9.60 per kilogram. That is the floor price for real butter in Australian supermarkets. Butter at that price is made from the cheapest cream available, which comes from the cheapest milk, which comes from the least selective dairy operations. Cheap milk comes from high-volume farms, often with year-round calving, grain supplementation, and silage feeding, rather than pasture grazing. Pasture-fed cream is yellow, rich in beta-carotene from fresh grass. Grain-fed cream is pale, almost white. Woolworths Essentials butter is pale. The color tells you what the label does not. Food standards: Australia. New Zealand requires butter to contain minimum 80% milk fat. Woolworths Essentials meets that standard. FSNZ does not require origin disclosure, traceability, or pasture percentage labeling. Woolworths is legally compliant. The butter is real. The supply chain is a black box. Dairy Australia's annual reports note that commodity cream, the type used in supermarket own-brand butter, is typically pooled from farms across multiple states, with milk fat content and bacterial loads standardized through industrial separation and pasteurization. The process ensures safety and consistency. It also erases seasonality, terroir, and any connection to how the cow was fed or where it grazed. You are spreading real butter. You have no idea where it came from. Number 3. Western Star Original Salted. $6.50 at Woolworths, Coles, and IGA. Gold foil wrapper, Australian icon. Since 1926, printed on every block. The brand was founded in Cobram, Victoria, by dairy farmers who wanted to create a premium butter that could compete with imported European brands. For decades, it was Australian-owned, regionally sourced, and a point of national pride. In 2013, Fonterra bought Western Star. Fonterra is a New Zealand dairy cooperative and the world's largest dairy exporter. Fonterra controls roughly 30% of global dairy trade. Scale is its business model. Western Star is now a brand within a multinational supply chain. The ingredient list remains simple. Cream, salt, nothing added. This is real butter. The problem is not what is in it. The problem is that you can no longer trace where the cream came from. Before the Fonterra acquisition, Western Star sourced cream primarily from farms in northern Victoria and southern New South Wales, regions known for irrigation-fed pasture and year-round milk production. Post-acquisition, Fonterra integrated Western Star into its broader Australian processing network, which includes plants in Victoria, Tasmania, and South Australia, sourcing milk from more than 600 farms across the southeast. Fonterra's model is pooled supply. Milk from hundreds of farms is collected, tested for fat and protein, pooled into tankers, and delivered to centralized processing plants where it is separated, pasteurized, and standardized. Cream from this system is then allocated to whichever brand needs it. Western Star, Mainland, Perfect Italiano, or Fonterra's food service lines. The cream in your block of Western Star could have come from 50 different farms in 3 different states. You will never know. Fonterra is a cooperative. That structure means it is owned by its farmer members, most of whom are in New Zealand. The Australian farmers who supply Fonterra are contractors, not members. They are paid for volume and composition, liters of milk, percentage of fat, not for pasture management, seasonal quality, or traceability. There is no incentive to differentiate. The system rewards scale and consistency, not craft. Western Star still tastes like butter. It melts like butter. It bakes like butter. It is butter. But it is anonymous butter. The gold foil wrapper performs heritage. The supply chain performs efficiency. There is no longer a farm behind the brand. There is a procurement network. The price, $6.50 for 500 grams, positions Western Star as a mid-premium product. That price is above Woolworths Essentials and Coles' own brand, but below imported European blocks like President or Echeray. You are paying for the brand and the Australian identity. You are not paying for single-origin cream or pasture traceability, because those do not exist in the supply chain anymore. Industry analysts have noted that Fonterra's acquisition strategy in Australia has consistently targeted brands with strong regional or national identity, Western Star, Perfect, Bega's former assets, and then integrated them into a pooled, cost-optimized supply model while retaining the brand equity. The label still says Australian-made. The farming story the brand was built on is no longer part of the product. Number 2. Mainland Salted Butter. $5.80 at Coles, Woolworths, and IGA. Another Fonterra brand. This one does not even pretend to be Australian. The label says New Zealand butter. The butter is manufactured in New Zealand from milk supplied by Fonterra's New Zealand farmer members, then exported to Australia and sold in our supermarkets as a mid-tier option. The ingredient list is clean: cream, salt, no additives. This is real butter, made in a country with a strong dairy reputation and strict standards for milk fat, bacterial counts, and hygiene. The butter itself is not the problem. The scale is. Fonterra represents approximately 10,000 dairy farmers in New Zealand. Those farms span both islands, across climates ranging from temperate Waikato to cooler Southland. Some farms are entirely pasture-based. Others supplement with palm kernel expeller, a byproduct of palm oil production imported from Indonesia and Malaysia, used as a high-energy winter feed when grass growth slows. Palm kernel expeller is legal, widely used, and does not appear on the butter label because it is a feed ingredient, not a food ingredient. But it changes the composition of the milk. Pasture-fed cows produce milk rich in omega-3 fatty acids, conjugated linoleic acid, and beta-carotene. Cows fed palm kernel produce milk with a different fatty acid profile, lower in omega-3, higher in saturated palmitic acid. Both are grass-fed in Fonterra's reporting because palm kernel is supplementary, not the base diet. The distinction is real. The labeling does not capture it. Fonterra pools milk from all supplier farms within a region, then processes it into standardized cream. That cream is allocated to whichever product line needs it: Anchor, Mainland, Westgold, or Food Service Bulk. There is no single farm butter in the Fonterra system. The cooperative structure is designed to ensure every farmer's milk is valued equally and processed efficiently, not to preserve individuality or terroir. Mainland butter is consistent. It is safe. It meets New Zealand's dairy standards, which are among the highest in the world. It is also untraceable. The block in your hand could be from 200 farms, 2 islands, and 3 feed systems. The label says New Zealand. It does not say which part, which season, or which cows. You are buying real butter from an industrialized supply chain that operates at a scale where the farm is no longer part of the story.